Welcome to part 25 of the 2023 NFL Draft and Review. Today we're going to be taking a look at the 2023 Tampa Bay Buccaneers class. And from what I see here, the Buccaneers are kind of in an unfortunate spot of a team that has had their minute and is now kind of desperately trying to just stand pat and hope they can get back to where they were. But a primary reason that I think the Buccaneers are probably going to fail in this endeavor is the head coach, Todd Bowles. This guy couldn't get a .500 record with Tom Brady throwing 700 times. Yes, there were a lot of injuries. The running game was one of the worst the NFL had ever seen. So there were reasons the Buccaneers couldn't get there last season, even with a quarterback as good as Tom Brady. But, well, Tom Brady retired. Your quarterback's probably Baker Mayfield now. You've lost quite a bit of the defensive prowess that got you to that Super Bowl. So, yeah, I think the Buccaneers' time is done, and that makes this class just trying to cling on, which is probably going to do more damage in the end than just accepting it's over and retooling entirely. So, this leads us to the first selection, defensive tackle Calijah Kancey, or Chancey, I'm not sure the last name there, but it says they're going to move him over to defensive end, which should, I think, fit in pretty well with the reasonable sack production here. 7 sacks both the last 2 years. Good bit of tackle for loss as well. So maybe one that can be moved around, but running at least a version of a 3-4 here with nose tackles. Obviously, you got Vita Vea. You don't really need a nose tackle under those circumstances. So basically, this is to hopefully fill in the defensive end opening that kind of exists on this team. So we'll go over here, take a look. This is all from 2022 because that's surprisingly all I could find, really. Odd for a first-round selection.
Power football, I'll do that. Throwing it all over the yard, I'll do that. My job is to help them win.
You had talked about getting off the field on third down. That was Donaldson, and he's going to be marked short.
Also their leading rusher right now with 35 yards on 8 carries. 145 straight passes without an interception. He got stood up and dumped by Calijah Kancey. Take a look right in here. Calijah Kancey, just a solid guy, comes on the inside move.
But in this formation, receiver second from the top is ineligible.
Here's Hill sacked. First one of the day.
Just big man's everybody. He's right here. He's going to come through. And watch what happens when the running back tries to take him on. So he gets past the guard, dumps the running back into. I think the running back actually made the tackle. It was John Rudzinski taking over that defense.
Paul Woods in motion. This is third and the full 10 for the Rams. And the pressure coming, and Hill's going to be sacked. Servassier Dennis and Calijah Kancey.
Servassier Dennis is going to be here in the middle. You're going to see him kind of delay and then shoot through when everything gets sorted out ahead of him. The hole just opens up. And number 7 coming downhill at your quarterback is certainly
2 of the ACC's 14 semifinalists for the Campbell Trophy. Here's Sims sacked. That is Calijah Kancey. Brent Key and Chip Long, but 8 has got to be near the head of the list.
He certainly does. It's just an arm over move against Joe Fusel. Beats him right off the block, and one of the best defensive tackles in the ACC is a tough draw for anybody. Calijah
Jenkins in the boundary, 3 receivers to the field. And here is Sims, and a great play inside Calijah Kancey. Kancey can win, Roddy, on just about anybody one-on-one, I think.
It gets, but here it's the power. Here he is on the left side of your screen. He's just going to discard the guard, Pierce Quick. Oh, it actually was a center, Weston Franklin.
So first and goal.
This pick I could see working out for really opening up the versatility of a defensive line look for the Buccaneers. You know, because this guy does seem to do so well and get into the quarterback from the defensive tackle position, no less. You know, you could probably, run a variant of a 4-3 off of this, but if you're going to run a 3-4, which the position would suggest, obviously, I don't know the schemes of teams too well. I just go by what the positions say to me, and that says the Buccaneers are probably running something like a 3-4. So basically, moving them over to defensive end, this could work even better because you're basically employing that speed to beating tackles, and obviously tackles have the hardest job on the offensive line, stopping guys like this. So if he could make that shift in position, then this could be a pretty good selection for the Buccaneers, because obviously you got, I believe it's Shaq Barrett and some other pretty good pass rushers that, this is basically one more, gives your defense some options and increases the stress on an offensive line. Okay, so the next selection is offensive tackle Cody Mosch from North Dakota State. I don't think this is the first player I've seen from this school in this class, but obviously this offensive line has had some problems. I'm not sure if I would say he's an immediate starter, especially with this saying that they're moving him over to guard. But this is a pretty good insurance pick because last year this team did get absolutely destroyed by the injury bug, and that did contribute a lot to the poor running game and Tom Brady just kind of being out there having to drag every game on his shoulders against a defense that knows this team wasn't able to run the ball. I always feel bad for smaller defenders that just get tackled by offensive linemen like that. So that pushes one into... Just flatten the other guy. Now, obviously, this isn't quite the highest quality video, but you do see Mosch moving around pretty good there, and that's overall what I like seeing from offensive linemen. Guys that will hold the block. If they've got change to another defender, they can do it. So, I do kind of like this pick. Not sure if it's an immediate start, because the Buccaneers do have a pretty good offensive line when it's healthy. So it's just kind of, we'll see. I'm not sure how much we'll see of him this year, but going forward we should see quite a bit. So next we come to another defensive line selection. This is Yaya Diabi, and I like that name. It's fun to say. So didn't do too much his first 2 seasons in college. With 5.5 tackles for loss, 1.5 sacks through his first 2 years. But his last season, he put up 14 tackles for loss, 9 sacks. That's a pretty good amount of your overall tackles being ones that are going for loss, being plays your team needs you to make. So we'll come over here and take a little look and see what the Buccaneers might have.
Louisville rushes 3, drops 8. Milton is sacked.
In pressure with three.
Yaya
Every defensive coordinator loves
three
that.
defensive linemen. You see Yaya Diabi going up against Robert Scott, who sat giving up. You had help coming from the inside, so you can't get beat outside around the edge. You've got to overset, knowing I've got a guard coming my way to try and give the second half. On second down, not much there. That was Ward.
He's like been there, done that.
Now the pitch to Kemp. Again, nothing doing there. Trying something new,
We throw it up to him.
Instead, it's Kemp. Little push pass. He can't get through the defense, though.
Good
Nice
job
job defending on the play. Fago and Diabi.
Christian Turner in the game now in the backfield next to Hartman. The Deeks went 75 yards on their last possession, but this drive's going to start.
Second down.
Wow.
That's lucky. Cards bringing pressure. Uriungalai. And ball's on top of it.
Yeah, I mean, but that was Uriungalai holding the ball down. Look where the ball is. Diabi, also known as Little Baby, to make that play.
And Abanikanda, no chance. Diabi's back in the game, and
basically he just beats the block of Carter as he's trying to have this wind back run, come back around.
Throw. Has time. Has plenty of time. Now he doesn't. And he got rid of it. He threw it behind him. It's going to be a fumble. Garwo's going to have to track it down and not fall on it.
What are you doing? Like, what is happening right now?
And it's a sack.
That one-on-one block on your left tackle makes it tough.
Years now for Jordan Travis. Officially a loss of 3. Clean pocket, the pump fake all night. Backside pressure. Travis collapses. Ball's picked off. And the start for.
I think this what ultimately comes down to what player we're getting here. If he's like this in the NFL, then I would say that this is basically just a quality, every so often situationally on the field as a sort of breather player backup. But if he can do this in the NFL, then obviously that is a starter level player, but it just kind of depends where he's going to fall in at first, because I don't think that, in spite of this being a third-round player, a lot of these guys do end up playing, I don't think that he is a immediate starter, what with the selection of Cansey, and I think it is one of these guys up here, I think that is the other starter at defensive end for the Buccaneers at the moment. So I think that for now, actually it says he might be moved over to outside linebacker. So yeah, we'll see what's going on over here, because if they're going to play him here, he could be a starter, because I wouldn't really say that Joe Tryon has quite been what I expected so far. So it's one of those ones. It's keep an eye on them. We'll see what goes on sort of players. So the next selection is linebacker Servosea Denis. That's definitely an interesting name. Another real interesting one. So for an inside linebacker, this going up does show some promise. Having some value in the sack game and also against the run is an interesting fact to have. So there's some potential here maybe. Also seems to do pretty damn well when he gets the ball in his hand. Holy crap. But I'm going to take a quick look, see what else they got inside linebacker, just to be sure. Yeah, they got Devin White, Levante David, so I would obviously, 5th rounder at the position that's stacked, obvious backup, but one with some potential perhaps, so we'll see.
One tonight. Garcia going to be taken down in a heap. Dennis again.
There's Campbell right here, and it kind of gets rolled up on as the quarterback.
They have guys like 7 spying. Now he's coming. Servosea Denis, he backs off, but he makes the tackle.
He leads the ACC in sacks by an off-the-ball linebacker.
Converted after a big special teams play, trying to make it 2. Leonard will look to run. Design run. Has room. Fumbles the football.
Servassier Dennis coming in from outside and play by Riley Leonard. And
they want to bring pressure. They back at him, bring only 4. Now they bring Servassier. Del Rio Wilson is able to fall on it. That was.
Yeah, and watch number 7. You see him on the right side of your screen. He's like hovering. He's a spy. So in this type of defense, the spy.
And this play clock all the way down. And Pitt brought the house, and Hampton.
Here's Wells looking. Now in trouble. Servassier Dennis.
Drive. First it's the face mask, and then Grant Wells kind of drifts away from his protection. They'll
do a good job protecting the quarterback.
3rd down and 5, and straight ahead, that is Cooley, and hit by Servassier Dennis. The clock at 2. Blitz coming. Dennis got him. Servassier Dennis.
And he ends up coming out here, and what happens is Servassier Dennis is coming inside. You need to protect inside out and blitz protection, and Jawar Jordan
in.
Sim's going to try and sneak it, and boy, the Pitt.
On the perimeter, that's when as a defensive back you have to plaster. Sacked. 5 tackles for a loss a year ago, led the team in tackles.
I'd say this could be one of those interesting players from a standpoint of depending what package you're going to run. Because if you're going to bring a inside linebacker blitz, I wouldn't be too surprised the Buccaneers elect to put Dennis on the field. That's just what I kind of see there, is that I think that could be a good idea to, gives one of the other inside linebackers a breather for a play or two, So I think that is another solid backup selection. So next up we get tight end Payne Durham out of Purdue. I think I did actually see a little bit of this guy during the, rare instance where I watch a college football game during the season. So, this did used to be one of the most ridiculously overstacked tight end positions in the league. You obviously had Gronk at the start. O.J. Howard was on the team. I think there was another one in there that was kind of the criminally underrated third guy, and then K. Otten showed up in the last year or so. But pretty much all those guys except for Otten are gone now, so Durham's kind of stepping into a position that is much, much weaker and is going to have young quarterbacks that could use a tight end that is reliable. And if he can do something like this, then he could be a pretty good safety valve target for Baker Mayfield, or if Mayfield doesn't work out, eventually Kyle Trask. So there is some potential starting value in this player if they don't want to run with K.
Enforcing turnovers. Gets the ball back and a great throw. This is the tight end, Payne Durham.
That's Wisconsin.
Off the play action, a quick pitch and catch, finding Payne Durham. Left field in motion on 1st and 5. O'Connell throws over the middle. It's caught. Payne Durham, the tight there.
That could have been a first down.
Plummer throws quickly and dumps that pass off, and Durham incomplete. 4 out of 12 on 3rd down tonight. Plummer over the middle, throws, that's caught. First down across the 40-yard.
But a couple of them got carried.
Durham back in on 3rd and 2. It's a throw. Here is Durham back into the ball game and back into the end zone. And Durham gets a shot and a touchdown.
And that one's so tough to defend because it's
3rd down and 1. They slip it outside to the tight end.
It's playing coverage. Over the middle. Caught by the tight end. Payne Durham into Tennessee territory. Spins free. Durham down the sideline. A stiff arm. He is in the sideline.
Look at the anticipation throwing before his tight end is in that second window. And here, this is just a lapse of concentration by Tennessee. Not finishing the play there.
O'Connell on a rollout, looking back to his left. The tight end throw back to Payne Durham for the cold weather November football in the Big Ten. Hello, up over the top, Payne Durham.
yeah, like I said, just could be a pretty solid safety valve target for quarterbacks that are definitely going to need a target like this. But I do think this is ultimately going to come down to whoever comes up with the overall starting job, Durham or Otten, and I would say Otten, being the veteran presence here, is probably the favorite. So I don't think we're going to see too much of him, at least for probably the first year or two. So, moving along to the next selection, we have cornerback Josh Hayes out of Kansas State. This is another very obvious backup selection because the Buccaneers' secondary is a little suspect, but it has pretty clearly defined starters. And this guy, no interceptions in his college days and was only playing 2 seasons, so I don't really expect to see much. And frankly, 71 tackles says, yeah, safety to me, not corner, so I'm not really sure if they should leave him at corner.
Sustain and then get points. Deion Silas back in the game, looking for room, trying to find the edge. And Josh Hayes is going to deny him. And now the crowd wants a penalty flag, and so far none thrown. It's going to be a loss of 5 on the play.
Josh Hayes came from basically center field, and this play just gets strung out here. Silas is trying to get to the edge, and you'll see number 1 just burst into the screen. What a great tackle.
Ewers climbs the pocket, stays behind the line of scrimmage, fires, it's not free, sprung free by Hayes, and let's see who comes up with a football.
Catch 1, 2, tuck away, football move, clearly a fumble, no question about it.
No one saw that coming.
Good heads-up play there.
Deckers, and he tried to force that one in to Hutchinson. He wants a flag. He's not going to get one. Josh Hayes played that beautifully.
Duggan immediately straight back, and he can take off. He's an effective scrambler, can be a tough guy to tackle, but flying up to make the play is the safety, Josh Hayes, who slings him down to the line of scrimmage.
And they're mixing up some man, some zone. This time they're going to play zone. When you play zone, it allows those backers and safeties to keep their eye on the threat of a quarterback who's an athlete to run. So they know that he's taken off, and they are able to clean it up in a hurry. Great play there by Josh Hayes.
Yeah, transferred in from Pittsburgh. All 3 of those guys transferring in. Good penetration by that defense.
All this is showing me, move him back to safety. Just let him play at the position that pretty much got him drafted in the first place. Just put him back there, and really, depending on what your starting situation looks like, which doesn't look too great to me. They look a little light in these spots, except for maybe free safety. But it's just put him back there. If he gets on the field, he'll probably do a lot better at safety than corner. So that's just what I see. Next one is wide receiver Trey Palmer, and this is one of those players I just kind of feel bad for because you're pretty much screwed from the start. You're not getting on this fucking field. Well, you could. There have been some injury issues with this team in the past, but still, you're pretty much automatically, at best, the number 4 guy because this team has Mike Evans, Russell Gage, and Chris Godwin. Now, if we're going to play the long game here, Trey Palmer has a chance because Russell Gage is, I don't think, really a proper number 2 level receiver. Mike Evans, in my opinion, is one of the most overrated number 1s in the league. He gets 1,000-yard seasons basically by the skin of his teeth every season. This is one of those players that he will get like 170 yards and 3 touchdown catches one game, and then the next game he'll get like 2 catches for 17 yards. It was one of the most infuriatingly hot and cold wide receivers in the league. So that's why I don't regard him as a particularly high caliber number 1 guy. He can have those games, but they're not consistent. So yeah. But like I said, in regards to Trey Palmer, yeah, behind 3 guys, one maybe might not be here that long, and maybe you can hop another, but that's still very long odds. And so we'll come over here and see what his potential to even do that might be. And that doesn't really impress me too much. He did virtually nothing in LSU, transferred to Nebraska, and once again proved the Big Ten is not that good at defense. But yeah, 1,009, not great, not terrible. So
an opener here, 9 for 12 so far. They will throw it, and he does get it over the middle inside the 5.
You got a difference maker. You got a chart. How many times you're getting in the ball? How many different ways can you put it in his hands? And that's time. Great.
They're going to throw it on first down with 1 timeout left. Thompson over the middle into a sliding grab.
As he's going to set up and fire deep, and there's a good start to the third quarter. Trey thrown end zone. Thompson from the end zone, little wobbly duck, but it works. Palmer climbs the line.
It's always about that next one. Thompson, meanwhile, perfect delivery right on target for Trey Palmer, and he gets a couple extra yards after the
hard sell action. You put it in Grant's belly. Look at everybody respond, and they fill it up behind it. Get Trey Palmer in space. Makes a couple of every year.
Thompson going deep. He's got it. Trey Palmer into Eagles territory.
Maybe just a little more drive on this. Got a great opportunity. Look at that mismatch right there. Good scheme by Mark Whipple.
Thompson rolls. Thompson delivers. Trey Palmer is going to get out of bounds.
Wide receivers on the outside.
On first down, he'll drop it into the flats. Nice catch. Trey Palmer turns it up with a first down. See what the game plan.
Yeah, this is about what I expected to see. This is just your average number 4, number 5 on the roster sort of wide receiver. They'll pick up a couple catches. If you're a fan that, really pays attention to the game, you'll probably know his name, if you're a fan of the Buccaneers, but it's going to be one of those ones that, he caught a ball today. That's interesting. Maybe he'll get a touchdown or 2 here or there, but yeah, just don't expect to see him very often. Just one of the oddball targets that sometimes gets open because the defense doesn't take them as seriously as a guy like Mike Evans or Chris Godwin. So that'll bring us to the final selection of the Buccaneers draft. That is defensive end Jose Ramirez from Eastern Michigan. I'm not sure, but there should be a stat line for this player. Well, I'll take it with a heavy grain of salt, the fact that, the MAC conference, but still, that's a pretty damn good third season there. 19.5 tackles for loss, 12 sacks. So this could be another pretty solid depth piece for them to have.
Defensive line linebackers for playing an aggressive style in the first half.
First play of the third quarter, and Eastern's defense comes up with a big play defensively as Cooper thrown down back on the 21. Down to Taylor.
A couple of weeks. Such an athletic quarterback. Was excited to watch him play.
And another defensive stop. All of a sudden, all of the energy here at Kent State is on the Eastern Michigan sideline. That was Jose Ramirez, another key play for number 4 for Eastern Michigan. Can you almost sense the momentum switching?
A little bit. And we've talked about Jose Ramirez, his ability to crash the mesh. You see him in the backfield. That felt here. Yes, I have.
It's amazing. First down, and the tremendous job by the Eastern Michigan defense continues. Yet another sack. This one back inside the 18-yard line.
Kind of just makes you wonder, where was this group in the first half? But they have been relentless here in the second half. Jose Ramirez, Grant Truman, off the edge, up the middle, pressure, not pressure. Trying to run a little stuff in the middle there.
Well, it was all highlights against Kent State, but that I think does pretty well show that Ramirez could be a pretty good backup selection to probably, obviously to back up either the existing starter or the previously drafted Kansi. So So I don't dislike the pick, but obviously I think that one's going to take some coaching to get him up to moving a little quicker to keep up with the NFL game. So maybe not someone we'll really hear too much of. Probably, I would say probably his whole career. So that will bring us to the end of this class, and my suspicion kind of stacks up. This class is a team that is going downhill, trying to keep treading water in a sense. They're patching the holes as best they can, but the biggest holes are ones that really can only be filled by competent management, which they don't really seem to have right now. You are not going to go very far with Todd Bowles as a head coach. The Jets proved this. The Buccaneers proved this last season. Maybe the offensive line's healthy and that will help the running game, but the running game really doesn't have very much going for it. You've got a handful of guys that have never really been starters before. You're seriously downgrading at quarterback. You've gone from Tom Brady, who, even with people blaming him left, right, and center for things that were not his fault, is still a hell of a lot better than anybody on this roster. Maybe Baker Mayfield can recapture his form from when he had good blocking in Cleveland, but that's betting on long odds. And then you've got Kyle Trask and John Wolford. Trask was drafted as a first-round quarterback, but he's never really played in the NFL in a real game as far as I'm aware. And Wolford, while he's got some experience, is usually your second or third-string quarterback. So you've got a struggling running game, and now you've massively downgraded at quarterback, compounding the problems seen in the defensive end of the ball, where you've got a pretty good pass rush, but that's pretty much all you've got. If this team were in any other division, I would say they have no chance at all. That's just where I stand on the Buccaneers, which, bringing it back to the draft class, just says you're patching holes as best you can, but the ship is basically falling apart, so eventually you're not going to be able to patch the holes anymore because too much water has rushed in. So that's just where I see it. It's not a bad class, but it's not a good class for the circumstances of the team making it. So I'd give this class, I'm not really sure, but I'd call this about a C+, B- sort of class. It's just an okay class for an okay but declining team. So that's just how I see this. So I do have to check because the NFC South was an absolute clusterfuck last year. Just to see who was second place. Okay, so yeah, tomorrow is going to be the Carolina Panthers. That ought to be fun. Get the last of the top quarterbacks out of the way. So that'll do it for the video. Leave a comment, like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell to see when I upload next, share with your friends, follow me on Twitter if you like, and I'll see you tomorrow for the Panthers and number 1 pick, Bryce Petty. Or Bryce Young. I'm not sure. I keep mixing the name up on that guy.